Gonna need a gap filler. Gonna need a puddle sucker too. Might also need a Jenny.
And another Sanger.
Whatever you need, Coates Hire has a million pieces of equipment. Call 13 15 52.
Now, Matty, you might recall we were talking about how close this is going to be to a two-stop race. Effectively, it's a three-stopper. But Jason Bright, who's going to start from the back of the grid as a result of what happened to him in qualifying, has actually come back into the pit. Well, he didn't even go out. He sat in the pit lane. They've fueled the car up. So they're about 6 or 7 litres better off than everyone. So one pace car, and they're going to do this in 2 stops. So watch out for that trading post car.
How good is Fujitsu Racing going? Gary Rogers has 2 of his cars in the top 4. I said, what have you told the boys? He said, go out there and have a heap of fun. He said, if they're having fun, they'll race well. He's tipping Michael Caruso to be leading by the first corner. Now, that'll be interesting.
Oh, yeah. It's going to be aggressive. It'll be a lot of fun down there to turn 1 as they go charging down that long Australia drive. Now, remember, if you need to leave us throughout the course of the next 74 laps, A, you'd be mad to do it. B, if you have to do it, take your Big Pond Telstra Next G mobile and you will catch all our coverage on your phone there, thanks to Big Pond Sport. And also, by the way, I mentioned Jason Richards earlier before, recovering after an operation to remove a tumour in his stomach. And if you'd like to leave a message of support for Jace, just go to the V8 Supercars website. There's a link there. So go to v8supercars.com.au.
Following on from Mark Larkham's remarks there before, 3 litres or more per lap represents 3 stops. And if you can get it down to 2.9 litres or better, you'll get away with those couple of stops. Now, one significant change this year over 2009 is that the cars, if we go on board here with Greg Murphy, are using the 75-litre fuel tank, not the 120-litre fuel tank that they had here this time last year. Being massively distracted in the commentary box here, by the way.
Not for
Fabian
the first time.
Coulthard on board with him in the Bundy red car. It's been subjected to a significant amount of repair work again after practice yesterday. So this has changed the strategy game, and the weather is a factor as well. The forecast remains valid through the afternoon, that there could be periods of up to 30 minutes of showers and relatively low cloud and low visibility, but at the moment, where the wind's coming from, which sort of looks as though it's the north-northeasterly direction, doesn't look too bad. Here with Garth Tander, Toll Holden Racing Team, and it's been a difficult run for Garth. He's down in 22nd on the grid and couldn't find any happiness in the setup of that car. They had some brake trauma with that car in the early part of practice yesterday.
Gives you an idea of exactly where this circuit is situated in the middle of Sydney Olympic Park precinct. That's the train station just off to the right-hand side. On the bottom of the screen there is the pavilion and the dome, which over the Royal Easter Show you go in and get your show bags. That's our paddock. That's where all the cars are. That's where you've seen our host studio. And of course, running right down the middle there is Merchandise Alley, ANZ Stadium off to the top. So they go around some of the most iconic venues in Australian sporting history. And that's what will be made this weekend. Either way, we'll have a first-time championship winner or a 3-time championship winner.
Downhill start here, guys, so you have to keep a real eye on the cars creeping. Down Australia Avenue, a very difficult place to get the car off the line.
Big fall away too, isn't it? You can see it there, the back of the grid, on a different plane to the start of the grid. It's Lee Holdsworth versus Mark Winterbottom. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and away they will go for the Sydney Telstra 500. Mark Winterbottom, talk about aggression. He's squeezing Holdsworth over down to turn 1. Russell Ingall already aggressive too. They're 4 wide. This will not work. 4 will not work into turn 1. Somehow they've made it stick. Garth Tander looked as though he benefited too. But somebody's into the wall. It had to happen.
It's Tony D'Alberto.
Car 3, Tony D'Alberto.
He can't back it back. So he's in first gear. He's got the wheels lit up and he's trying to get reversed then to try to get it back off those tyres. So a very good start, Lee Holdsworth, Mark Winterbottom, Jamie Whincup. Big wide moment there out of turn 7 for Jamie Whincup.
And Courtney had it massively crossed up as well, a couple of cars behind. Ingall's car sliding through 8.
What a shot.
Isn't it a great shot?
This is the roller coaster down towards turn 9. Massive undulation in the road. So Holdsworth Lee Holdsworth has held off this challenge from Mark Winterbottom. Whincup already crawling over the back of Winterbottom. Remember, Mark Winterbottom is in the championship picture too.
It's a little margin back to Courtney.
One of the Jack Daniels cars came in on the inside of that turn there, so first time around it's Lee Holdsworth. Will Davison having a look at Rick Kelly. That's for position 14 and 15. Jason Bargwana also going on the outside line. Holdsworth's got pace. He's pulled away from Frosty. It's 0.8 of a second the difference.
His car looks good. Very well balanced. In fact, of the first 2 or 3 cars, Mark Winterbottom looks like the guy who's a little bit underdone. Whincup's got a lot of pressure on him. This is turn 8. Have a look how far the road drops away out to the outside wall. And we'll see some drama there through this race because we saw plenty there last year.
Caruso goes in search of clean air. Seeing a replay off the start. It was a good start by Winterbottom, but just watch the way right down the front that Lee Holdsworth holds his line, refuses to yield.
And how's Ingall down the inside of Todd Kelly to be 4 abreast
I don't know how
into turn 1. How that all happened, you'd never know. In the bottom of screen is how Rick Kelly and Tony D'Alberto come together to see D'Alberto in the tyres.
Murphy's quick at the moment as well. At least on the fastest lap of the race. In 9th position, 1:30.9.
Guys, Stephen Richards 1 lap and back in the garage. Bent steering from that incident at the start.
Oh,
Look at this, Whincup. Oh, got it
big
done.
dive, great dive. He did it last year. Same spot. That is a very, very good pass.
Very authoritative early in the race with heavy fuel, still waiting for tyres to fully normalise, and he took an opportunity. It was right at the braking limit. Winterbottom was locked up trying to defend, and he got it done.
Well, you guys were talking about it at the start of the show. Risk versus reward, and ultimate commitment is needed. What about the risk involved in that move for Jamie Whincup? 3rd lap into this race, championship on the line, and he takes a big dive on the inside of Mark Winterbottom.
And Matty, that's exactly why Jamie is a championship winner. He's not interested in coming second. He's all or nothing, mate, and you've got to reward guys like that.
Well, he knows, Larko, too. The best way to win a championship is to just keep winning races.
Here it is again. So they're both absolutely maxed out. Look at Winterbottom, who had to be held up a little high and wide to do it. Locked the front left. He's come from a long way out. It's a very, very impressive move. And to actually get it stopped and turned and scoot out the other side, and now with the fastest lap of the race, so he's now hunting Lee Holdsworth. This is a very impressive display from Whincup, 1:30.2. He was 8/10 quicker on the last lap than Lee Holdsworth. That's a big margin.
James Courtney is in 6th position, so Holdsworth from Whincup, Winterbottom, Caruso, Tim Slade, James Courtney, Russell Ingall, Todd Kelly, Greg Murphy and Alex Davison are your top 10.
Let's not forget that Jamie Whincup won both races on the streets of Hamilton in New Zealand. Also won the race on the Sunday, the streets of Surfers Paradise, and he's just hounding Lee Holdsworth.
He's all over him. He's got a pile of pace in that car at the moment, Jamie Whincup. Watch this on board. And he'll look down the inside of 9. Be a brave move if he got away with it there. He looked. It's enough to just unsettle the race leader, who'll be seeing hints of the colour in his rearview mirror.
He thought twice, didn't he? I reckon he had a second think about having a dive down there at turn 9 and then thought better of it.
He did, for sure, Matt.
Clearly knows he's got pace over Holdsworth. It's probably just a matter of time. And I like that onboard shot too of Whincup that we just saw. He just looked really controlled.
Now, Winterbottom's gathered it all up and recovered a bit here. Fastest lap of the race, position 3 on board here with Jamie. He's got a little bit better brake performance at the moment into turn 1. Remember, it was at the end of this next straight where he got Mark Winterbottom 2 laps back.
He's too far back this time.
All good champions look as though they've got more time than anybody else.
Part of the reason why he's able to do it is its ride across that bump that Mark's spoken about into turn 2. The ride control of the Vodafone car is very, very good there. Makes the car more stable under brakes than a lot of those he's been racing.
And just picture this, because when you are in this battle for the championship, look how close he is. You can't see Crumpo. When you're right behind the car in front on a street circuit, you don't know where the wall is because you're being... The guide is the car in front. You're being led along. So if Holdsworth makes a mistake, you make a mistake with him.
He's just showing the nose again in the braking area. He's got enough pace. The question is, will he get the run at the right time? He either needs a very good exit from turn 13, the last turn, or perhaps into turn 2 again, but he's got to be in the right spot.
Critical graphic there for Mark Winterbottom. He's responded to that move by posting the fastest lap time. That ensures that he's going to go with Whincup.
See, Lee's very strong off the final corner, which basically gives him those critical... Marked up, gives him the critical 3 or 4 car lengths, covers him at the other end down here.
So just watch this. This is the spot. So off turn 1, the exit drive, what Crumpo was talking about there was the exit drive of the Fujitsu car with Lee Holdsworth at the helm is very good off the corner. The straight line traction and the way the car comes off the corner is better than Whincup's at the moment, so he gets a little gap.
So Lee Holdsworth has held his own from the start of this race. But Carl Reindler, car 21,
and that car's stranded. This will be a safety car, and it has been called by the race director. So Tim Schenken's actually called it now. This is at the last corner.
Oh,
something's got a wheel off it. Oh, it's hit the fence too.
So the front left was already gone, and he's now about 3 feet higher than he should be.
And Andrew Jones is also in the pit lane somewhere. So you can see that the SC boards and the yellow flags will be out, and look at the damage on that car.
Yeah, so the front left was already gone at that stage by the time it speared him.
Now, there'll be a flurry of activity potentially here as well for fuel.
Bad news for the guy who had a bet on Carl Reindler.
That 100's over.
That 100 grand's gone.
Yeah. Now, I reckon some of them will actually take the risk of queuing cars here. We'll see what happens. Depends on who you are and where you are in the field. So the leaders are not buying into that one. But look at the number of wheels that are lined up and people have laid up in the pit lane ready. So
there you go. That's on board with the Pettis safety car. It has been deployed.
Okay. So a few of them are now taking the opportunity to come in.
That's Russell
Ingles in.
Murphy.
And the rest of the world, basically. It's more a case of who's still out. So Stephen Johnson, yes. Paul Dumbrell, yes. Warren Luff. This is all a bit messy here. Team Vodafone, Craig Lowndes comes in. It looks like Will Davison in for HRT.
In the case of people like Ingle, it means they're taking the stress out of the... Oh, goodness, how awkward was that? 2 team cars effectively from Walkinshaw Racing, and that'll be an unsafe release.
Sure.
It just had that messy feel about it. I mean, the truck came out to go and collect car 21 as all those guys were diving into the pit lane. I don't think anybody was really clear on what was going on there, and I think that's transferred all the way down to what you just saw with Will Davison trying to get out in a hurry. So this will determine exactly what happens. So there's the first impact on the Zinger replay of Carl Reindler's car, and by the time he gets around to the front straight, the front left is already gone. Look at it, it's wobbling out of control, and then it just fires him off into the fence.
Well, he should have come straight into the pit, Matt. He crashed at the previous corner, and he should have come straight into the pit. So here we go. Here's the HRT and Bundy incident. So
Yeah, so
this is Will Davison coming out, and that's Fabian Coulthard. Bang! Wheel to wheel. They've hit very hard.
That'll be a penalty for Will.
Here we go. This is from behind.
Remember that Will can't see out of the car, so it's the car controller who has that responsibility.
There's been no direction there to get that car out onto the circuit there at all.
On for young and old already. Lee Holdsworth leads this race under safety car.
Safety car, we're still dealing with this recovery on the start-finish safety features.
So we continue under safety car here. And a fair bit of confusion up and down pit lane because everybody's lost their information in terms of what lap we're on, who's actually sitting where.
we just called race control. So what lap are we on? And they said, we don't know.
No, they do. They've been counting. But just another variable into the mix. We come to street circuits and we talk about, you know, manhole covers and painted lines and possibly weather. Throw another one into the mix. Computers that don't work. The bottom line is that we'll be restarting this race in a matter of seconds, and it's Holdsworth versus Whincup. And check out Jamie Whincup.
Yeah, watch him, because he's going to try and make the opportunity work for him here. He's shadowed him for the restart. He stayed right under him, and he's got car pace. So watch him on cold tyres. He's looking at one.
But he was waiting to pounce before the safety car came out.
He's about the only guy that stayed glued to the bloke in front of him. Everybody else has let a couple of car lengths get into the game here.
So let's have a look as they go past. Holdsworth from Whincup, from Winterbottom.
Watching. Look at this. Great transition through the S's. Great power down. Holdsworth's going to have his elbows high in a couple of spots here.
Michael Caruso's in fourth.
These restarts is where you can pounce. Turn 8 would be very hard. Lee covers, shallow line. That'll make Whincup fast on the exit if he gets the throttle up nicely. He might think about getting down the inside at 9, but it's so unstable down there under brakes.
Oh, he's so committed. He has to go through with it. But Holdsworth has the right line for the next turn. So
he had the right idea. Because Lee covered going into 8, it made him slow. Look at this, he's up the inside again. This time he'll make it stick. Well, Jamie Whincup hits the lead of the motor race. And it's actually fumbled Lee to the extent that he's now vulnerable to Winterbottom. Last corner.
That was excellent driving. Very, very aggressive. Great overtaking manoeuvre.
It started when Holdsworth had to go shallow into 8. That made his corner exit speed slightly slower. That gave Jamie the run into 9. It was a maximum attack under brakes in there. He showed his nose, that unsettled the rhythm, and then he gets him up the inside the next corner. Exactly. And he's got great pace at the moment, Whincup.
And that's all about putting pressure on the guy in front of you. So he put enough pressure on Lee Holdsworth to announced that he was going to have a crack anyway. It didn't work the first time, but that unsettled both Lee's rhythm and line.
And not only that, Matty, this is more than a motor race now. I reckon this is a head game, because what Jamie's doing by default, he's putting pressure on James Courtney. Look where he is now, in the pack, in where all the corruption happens. And look at Jamie's in clear air. And he took risk to get that reward. That's a champion.
Black flag pit lane drive-through penalty for Will Davison for the unsafe release that we observed with all that stuff in the lane when they all took that first stop. So that move on Fabian. Oh, look at this. Tim Slade up the inside now with Michael Caruso. Fishtailing. Is there space? Oh, Courtney gets 2 spots out of it, but he actually climbs up over the Caruso car. Is there damage to the Jim Beam car? He's checking the steering. This is not what he needs at the moment.
Todd Kelly's in it as well. Courtney's going to have to fight his way out of this hole that he put himself in when Tim Slade went for a move that turned out wrong. So Whincup streets ahead. Whincup's down at turn 1. Then Holdsworth, then Caruso. Tim Slade pulls off to the left-hand side and slides it into turn 1 the wrong way.
That was bad, wasn't it? You could see it coming from a long way out. Dirty side of the road. Tim couldn't stop it down there. He's managed to get away with it without damage, but he's dropped a monster bunch of spots. Alex Davison up on the inside here of Garth Panda.
Job done.
A little update on that timing glitch, because it's been quite unusual that we've got this problem at the moment. It's been caused as a result of Carl Reindler hitting the wall down there. It's actually fractured one of the data cables, so they're working on it at the moment. This is a wild start, boys. But what about the pace from Whincup?
So look at this. That's Caruso on the outside. Slade now on the outside. Does the crisscross and then the contact. Left front to right rear. And the next little bit of straight, he does a really good job, Courtney, to just check whether the steering is damaged. So there's the contact.
And he would have got a fair bit of feedback through the palms of his hands there, so that's why he'd be worried.
Absolutely. So down the next straight, he does the little wiggle and makes sure he can still steer the car.
So the order is Whincup leading from Lee Holdsworth, then Mark Winterbottom, Michael Caruso, and now we find James Courtney. So that's how they stand. Whincup goes through first. Courtney is now in 5th. So our championship leader has 4 spots to make up. He's got Michael Caruso in his sights. So this will run you through. Whincup, Holdsworth, Winterbottom, Michael Caruso, James Courtney, Todd Kelly, Alex Davison, Garth Tander, Rick Kelly, Shane Van Gisbergen, and Russell Ingall and Jason Bright.
It's way early to get too carried away, but the difference between 1st and 5th in this race is worth 39 points. That's the difference, that's the gain. Here's Courtney on the charge now. Is there some steering damage? The mirror's folded back on the driver's side. He was involved in that vigorous brawl. He's looking to try and unlock himself from Caruso, but it's worth doing because it's worth another 9 points if he can do it.
Caruso shaped to block then, halfway down the straight, moved it over a little bit and covered his line in a spot that he was vulnerable a couple of laps ago to Tim Slade. So Courtney's pace looks good. Caruso looks absolutely under pressure.
Courtney's paying the price for not being far enough up the front in qualifying.
Absolutely.
He's got car pace, he's had car pace in the recent past, but when you don't have track position, you spend a big chunk of the motor race just trying to resolve where you might naturally drop in speed terms. So if James can clear another spot here, it gets him another 9 points. It just eases a bit of the pressure that's being brought about by having Whincup lead the race. They came into the race with a 53-point swing in favour of Courtney. And at the moment, Whincup's on target to take 39 of those away from James, which sets up a monster race for tomorrow. But there's a long way to go in this one.
You're spot on, because right now the championship picture reads that James Courtney only has a 14-point lead over Jamie Whincup.
Picked up the throttle very early at turn 8 then, James, but it actually runs out of breath on the exit of the corner. He had to find the gear early, so he lost a little bit of the exit advantage. Oh, he's right on the braking limit here into 9. He barely pulled it up then, and Michael was just sneaking across and just narrowing up the line. The other thing here, they've asked him to go headlights on, is you'll start to see a rise in water and brake temperatures, and it's already a place that works brakes pretty hard. So he's swallowing a lot of hot air from Michael's car at the moment.
What we've seen so far is Whincup has made a couple of critical passing manoeuvres. A great pass on Winterbottom, a great pass on Holdsworth. Now it's time Courtney is going to respond also. He's got to get by Caruso. You've got to have a dive. He's got to get out into the clear air, or he'll be stuck there lap after lap after lap.
So remember, Jamie Whincup is our race leader. He has shot to the front after starting from position 3, and he's done it with pure aggression and ultimate speed. Can he hold them off? We're back on the streets of Sydney Olympic Park. That's car 14, smack bang in the middle there, the trading post car of Jason Bright, who had an off in qualifying, triggered a red flag, so had to start from the rear of the grid. He was the fastest car in practice, so they're happy with the pace of that car, and now he's trying to work his way through the field.
And we believe using, this is door missing off the Tony D'Alberto car, tangling up with Warren Luff there. That was messy, to say the least. Now, Jason Bright, by our dead reckoning, is the first car in the field that's actually started from the pit lane and has taken the stop, and he's the first in the queue, if you like. He's the guy that those that have not stopped at the front of the field are racing when they make their first stop. So this is Warren Luff in the Gulf Western Oils entry, down at turns 2, 3, 4.
That was pretty
safety
wicked.
car. Safety car's being deployed here because of where Warren is.
Well, he wouldn't have known what had happened there, because he just got a touch up from behind, and all of a sudden he was face first into the fence. So there's Michael Caruso, and
now this will have
car activated.
The effect of condensing the field, which would be good news for Jason Bright.
Tim Schenken just sending a message down to the safety car.
And if you're on a two-stop strategy now that is burning 2.9 litres of fuel per lap or less, which would be pretty miraculous, you can't really stop now, because you won't be able to manage your fuel to get to the end on those two stops. It'll blow your theory.
So Caruso's backed off, but he needs to be pressing on still, because you've got to be right up there. This is effective positions as Whincup comes in to take this stop. So again, what Neil was saying before,
Okay, so your race leaders are in: Whincup, Holdsworth, Winterbottom.
Now, Courtney and Caruso have continued. So different strategies here. The Vodafone. So Caruso's the leader of the race. From Courtney, who stayed out, they've pitted Whincup, as you just saw. And the first car in the field at this stage that has actually stopped and grabbed fuel is either Ingle or Bright, and I'll verify that for you as the field cleanses.
Yeah, I think you'll find
actually it's Ingle.
It's Ingle, yeah. Remember, he just came straight in under that first safety car period. So while the Pettis safety car does its job, we'll earn some money. Bring you back in just a few minutes.
Thank you. Thank you, Damien.
confident that the strategy they're deploying is going to work. They currently sit third and fourth. As we said, 5 drivers yet to stop, being Caruso, who leads the race, Courtney, Alex Davison, Van Gisbergen and Jason Wright, the leader of their blue stock.
Michael Caruso is the first in the queue behind the safety car when the restart happens. So Caruso, Courtney, Alex Davison, Shane Van Gisbergen yet to pit. Russell Ingall pitted earlier on in the race and he's in 5th position.
Yeah, we actually saw that one. Now I need to correct also. I've given the false impression, got some incorrect information in relation to Bright. He did start from the pit lane, but they haven't actually stopped him within the race itself yet. So the car that's best placed, having made us stop, is Russell Ingall. But remember that those in front, I'm suggesting that Caruso and Courtney are actually trying to play a 2-stop game here. Yep. So it's a really, and this is what we alluded to at the front of the race, that it's a really interesting scenario. It depends on each driver, their treatment of the throttle, their fuel economy, their race pace.
And the real drama of this is Whincup is in 17th as we are right now. He's led the race, he's been out of harm's way, but now he's right back in that.
And their fuel burn, I heard them on the radio, they think they're burning too much fuel, so they went, well, let's just do it now and pay the price.
Bad restart from Caruso. Caruso got very sideways, coming onto the straight. James Courtney's right there.
Courtney is doing to Caruso what Whincup did to Holdsworth, and Caruso's lost it. Courtney gets the race lead.
Well done, James Courtney. Very good restart.
Now that effectively releases James, and he can just get into his own rhythm, get his elbows up now. He can even afford to take a bit of pace out of the lap speed of the car when things settle down. This could be a bit mean.
Wouldn't want to be Craig Lowndes now. I don't want to be out there.
So they really pumped him up at the restart. You heard the guys yelling out, "Go, Robbo, go." That's Michael Caruso's nickname. So he was full of energy and full of beans going down to turn 1. The problem was he was carrying way too much steam. Courtney put the pressure on him. Caruso made the mistake, and James Courtney has been released at the front of the field.
That was Caruso saying the tyres are cold and hopeless.
But you've got to drive to those conditions, Crompo. You've only got X amount of grip. You've got to drive it to stay on the black stuff. And Michael, bad restart and then a pretty simple mistake down at turn 1. Oh, big slide there, that's gone.
Stephen Johnson, it looked like he may have got the wall then.
And he just had Greg Murphy go past him as well. So this is the replay of Courtney. And there goes Caruso.
And if you look carefully at that replay again, the rot sets in on the bump, and he's got the left-hand side of the car parked perfectly on the white line. So the painted white line doesn't have near the grip. There's the shot, the replay shot of Stevie Johnson. Yep. And yes, he did tag the tyres, but thankfully it was the tyres and not the concrete, so he got away with it.
And there's Whincup.
That's exactly what you're talking about, Scafie. That's what you get caught up in when you're mid-pack.
Watch the replay. Look where the left side of the car is. It's right on top of the white line. It isn't as grippy as the asphalt, and that's partially what's helped bring Michael undone down there.
Absolutely. In that circumstance, the centre of the road with the highest grip level, it's resurfaced in the median strip area. He needed to park the car on the black median strip where the highest grip was. It was on the white line, as Neil pointed out, and the left-hand front wheel locked.
So Stephen got away with that. All he's done is pluck the left rear light assembly out of it and live to fight another day. Another metre down the road, and it's concrete, so that was a pretty nice one.
And how lucky was Whincup not to be part of all that?
1:30.8 that last lap. Sorry, 30.08 last lap for James Courtney. Nearly a second up now on Alex Davison. And Will Davison climbing back through the field, having served a pit lane drive-through penalty for the unsafe release back into the traffic. And Fabian Coulthard being the victim there in the Bundy red car.
Puts Will Davison up to 12th spot. There's Jamie Whincup. Smack bang in the middle of trouble central. He's got Stevie Johnson in front of him. He's got Mark Winterbottom behind him. And in terms of the championship, well, James Courtney is some 13 seconds further up the road.
The other point about this is that just before the stops, Lee Holdsworth was in front of Mark Winterbottom in second position. Now, out of all the stops, you can see Winterbottom behind Whincup. Then there's Todd Kelly, and then the car with the lights on is Lee Holdsworth. So he's actually dumped a couple of spots in all that pit drama.
Whincup's going to spend a month of Sundays in this queue. Yeah, when he gets Stephen Johnson, he then has to deal with Dean Fiore, and I mean, there's just so many cars. Even if you've got a car that's superior in speed, and we saw at the beginning of the race, the car behaviour was beautiful. He's driving it immaculately, but he's got so much. Look at it, it's just a string of traffic in front. No matter how much they encourage him, that's going to have an impact on his total time.
And that list of risks that you guys have been talking about has now got longer for him all of a sudden. When you're out in front, the risks are much less. Now he has to make risky moves to get past all of these guys, because track position is everything for Jamie Whincup.
That's Courtney's teammate there who was blocking. So,
well, you know that there's going to be no favours there. So now he's cleared him. That's one down.
One down, 12 to go.
Winterbottom's just in behind these guys as well in car 5. He's currently sitting 16th.
That was a good pass, guys. He come onto the straight very well. A really good dive. They're the sorts of things we've seen him all weekend so far. He's been very good.
Black flag pit lane drive-through penalty for Tony D'Alberto.
That will be for the incident with Warren Love for sure up into turn 2, which was pretty heavy contact.
And we're going to see James Courtney in and around about 3 laps on our estimate.
So the difference time-wise between this man, Jamie Whincup, twice he's won the championship. He's going for 3 straight to become possibly just the 3rd man in history to win 3 straight. Ian Gagan did it from 66 to 69, and Scafie, you did the treble 2000, 2001 and 02. But in terms of time, not to mention just position, there is 12 seconds between Jamie Whincup and James Courtney.
And Scafie, I mean, you've been there, mate. Jamie's won 2 championships. Do you think that allows him to just take that little extra risk? I mean, he's done it. What do you think?
Yeah, I think so, Larko. I think the way he's driving, you could not fault his drive today so far. It's just been very authoritative. He's stamped some real, you know, Whincup presence on this race. A couple of those passes have just been fantastic. That pass on Mark Winterbottom for the lead was just, you know, an amazing pass. And your point's very valid, because when you know how to win a championship, you don't come into this race with a cluttered feel about it. You've got a very simple objective of going and winning the race.
And that's exactly what it is. With the points so tight, he knows that he has to stay in front of James Courtney. It just so happens that Jamie Whincup is delivering a Jamie Whincup performance. Lots of speed, some great moves, and some risky passes that he's pulling off.
And by virtue of the way they fueled Jamie, where he's dropped back in the pack, some of all this is going to play back to him, because he's 12 seconds off the lead of the car race at the moment. James Courtney leads it, due in for fuel shortly, to put the fuel back in it, the 4 wheels and tyres, and transit the racetrack, the pit lane, and get back on and get back up to speed. The total loss is about 48 seconds. So remember, he's only got 12 seconds up his sleeve from Whincup. He's going to drop 48, so they'll change positions in this sequence.
It's a great shot of exactly where we are coming down to turn 10. They do a little left-hand, right-hand combination along Murray Rose Avenue. There's the train station on the right-hand side of them, the dome and the pavilion on the left. They circle around this wonderful precinct, and it's up and down, it's roller coaster, it's tight, it's got different camber on the roads, there's paint lines everywhere, and a gazillion concrete barriers to wipe out. Larko?
Oh, Neil, you're exactly right earlier, your comments about Jason Bright on their possible two-stop strategy. This is working to them. You're on the money there. Now, let's not forget how fast Jason's car was in practice yesterday. Very quick. He's still very quick. The little issue they've got, though, they did that engine change, and they think there might be a little airlock in the engine where they've put the water in the engine, and that's created a temperature issue. It's not over the top yet, but they're going to have to watch it very carefully.
Very fast lap speed also from Whincup, 1:29.6 to be the fastest on the racetrack at the moment. I believe that'd be a new lap record.
Yeah.
So we knew that Bright had pace based on what happened yesterday, but remember his qualifying all went sour when he clobbered heavily the curbing at turn 7 when he got in there a bit hot in the early part of qualifying, plucked an oil line off it. They changed an engine to be on the safe side. He's climbed up through the field now. He's 6th. Started in from pit lane.
Well, the deal was they knew that the car had pace, Crompo, so why not just get him out of the mix of everybody else and let him try and run his own race?
This is not good, this little pack. There's going to be...
You see something brewing, do you?
Yeah, yes. Here's Murphy down the inside of Fabian Coulthard at turn 2. Very, very good pass. And
Whincup on Davison.
Whincup on Davison.
It takes Jamie to 12th in the field, and great pace considering traffic around him to punch out effectively a mid-29. But he's 11.5 seconds off the lead.
This is Tander.
Scapey, that was very funny what you just said. That's your years of motor racing, when you can look at a gaggle of cars and say this is not good. For the people at home, you know when you walk into the pub and you know this is not good? It's exactly that. Well done, mate.
Now Shane Van Gisbergen's come into the lane from up the top of the field, so he's getting service.
Oh, there you go.
Speaking of getting service.
That was from the same little family of cars, so that won't be a nice garage to bowl back into later on this afternoon.
Shane Van Gisbergen rejoins the race. Just trying to work out what type of pubs Larko hangs out in. So, yet again, an HRT car whacks into the Bundy car.
Garth Tander into the back corner of Andrew Thompson.
So already Will Davison has collected Fabian Coulthard coming out of pit lane, and the other two sister cars have come in contact down at turn 1. Honestly, the accountant there must just have a box of Panadol in the bottom drawer at the moment. They're just writing checks. Okay, here's James Courtney. Lights are on. He leads the race. He will have to pit, and pit soon.
He just did the fastest lap of his race at 29.79 on the last lap.
So Lowndes comes in, and this will mean that with Davison also in, that Whincup moves up to 8th spot. So there's only 7 spots, but still 12 seconds in between Courtney and Whincup.
It's been good fuel economy from Courtney. This is Lowndes. They're going to put rotor tyres on Courtney's car, and they're going to make a rear roll centre adjustment.
I reckon that was a little bit slow. He had to have, see the flames coming out there. He had to have 2 cracks at the rear left then.
There's James, race leader, 5.5 seconds in front of his old teammate, Russell Ingall. And the margin back to Whincup is 12.7 seconds, and Whincup is 7th at the moment. And we're expecting Courtney in.
And with this clean air and that little gaggle of cars, so the clean air for James, the gaggle that Jamie has been in, over the last 5 or 6 laps, James has grabbed another 2.5 seconds in terms of advantage time. Okay, he's come in.
And a pit lane drive-through penalty for Garth Tander. Here's James in for Garth's role in the thing down the bottom with Fabian.
That thing.
Down the turn 1.
Andrew Thompson.
Sorry, Andrew Thompson. So they're going to bring him in now. So this is important.
Where does this put him? James Courtney out relative to Jamie Whincup.
There's Garth serving the drive-through penalty. Michael Caruso, 4 tyres.
So, meantime, Whincup's gone. He's disappeared down the road.
It doesn't look as though they're going to climb all over him, but the enormous amount of pace that the cars behind are carrying as Tanda makes a move straight away down at 1. So Courtney's just lost another spot in all of that.
I don't think he was ready for that.
And it's back on in terms of championship advantage, back to Jamie Whincup. Wait till the field cleanses, then we'll be able to exactly tell you what the difference is. But Russell Ingall is the race leader as Michael Caruso rejoins. So Ingall leads now from Jason Bright, Greg Murphy, Fabian Coulthard, then Jamie Whincup. You have to go down to 20th position to find James Courtney.
We're going to show you where Jamie is coming on to the start-finish straight. It's Jason Bright, Greg Murphy in the foreground, and you'll get an indication of where James is. There's Whincup, and it's going to be a fair old wait. That's Stephen Johnson in the Jim Beam car, so it's going to be at least the length of the straight, and that was a glimpse of Courtney in the background there. So remember, I was talking about a 12-second margin in favour of Courtney before the stop, and we know that it's 48 seconds if you're going well. And look at this. This is James now arriving. So it's a big chunk of the racetrack. It's half the racetrack.
He didn't need to let Tanda by then because he needs clear air. He needs to be able to go and make his own car speed, do the very best laps.
So remember, it was a 12-second advantage for James Courtney going in. He comes out 43 seconds in deficit, and a hell of a lot of track space as well, and cars in between him and Jamie Whincup. And while that championship battle's going on, Russell Ingall's going, you beauty, I'm out in front. We're back and you're riding with Jamie Whincup, who will go further up the order now because both Jason Bright and Greg Murphy have come into pit lane. So Russell Ingall leads the race. Bright and Murphy step out.
There's 3 different basic strategies on here. There's one bloke who started from the pit lane, Jason Bright. There's a little bunch that stopped on about lap 5. And then there's those that stopped on about lap 16, 17, depending on who you are. And those that went right to the very end. So there's actually sort of 4, if you like, although Jason Bright's a bit of an island in terms of this description. He's out on his own. But when you look at the numbers at the moment, the strategy that's working best in what's become a complex race, particularly with the timing issue that we had, it's those that stopped in the first little window, lap 5, who are actually well positioned at the moment. This is James Courtney, and where is he? 16th is the answer to that question. Still behind Garth Tanda.
So Ingall's the race leader. He's one of those drivers who you mentioned came in on lap 5. Remember, he started from inside the top 10. Whincup is second. And the way Jamie's going on this lap, there's your race leader. The way Jamie Whincup is going, he's on track for the fastest lap of the race, and he's just done so. So he's crossed the control line at 129.54, and there's a mistake for Ingall.
Turn 1.
He just got away with it, but that will close the deficit in between him and Whincup.
That was a big moment then for Russell Ingall. He was trying to stay in the 29s.
And they're going to bring him in now to try and recover from it. Now, he stopped last on lap 5. So he took the opportunity when Carl Reindler went into the wall to come in and grab fuel.
That little mistake cost Russell Ingall almost 2 seconds relative to the man behind him.
It's a good save.
So while he's trying to save all this, Whincup's coming charging down Australia Avenue to turn 1 and goes from having an 8-second deficit to 6.5.
Good save, Russell Ingall. That car, very easy to have a spin there. Locked the rear wheels, ran wide, but got away with it. There's Whincup. We've seen those red boxes in those previous laps. And there's Russell Ingall. That's your gap.
Why would you even bother putting a mirror on the driver's side? And look at it. First bloke's lost his. That's about the third that Team Vodafone's been through, and that's probably been kind.
You actually have to in the rules, so you don't have a choice, but the left mirror is optional. Although that's not the one at the moment that seems to have been punished quite as much this weekend.
Mark Winterbottom needs special mention here because he's in 3rd position and he's got both his mirrors.
You get a special award for that, do you, man?
So Russell Ingall's coming in to pit lane. That means Jamie Whincup is our race leader. So this is all working out well for the Super Cheap Auto team. He was stoked to be in the top 10. We made it pretty clear that top 10 shootout lap was potentially, well, just a shocker, really. He ended up in 9th spot, but we know what happens when this man goes racing.
Should pull that mirror off. Should pull that mirror off. Well done. Good guy. Good job.
See, people do listen to you, Mark.
Not many.
And the race control had asked V8 Supercar officials to look at that. So it was a good decision to pluck it off because they may have actually brought him in to make sure it was removed. Winterbottom's done the fastest split to the first timing intermediate down at turn 3. So he's 4.2 seconds behind Jamie Whincup at the moment. Whincup 29.5 on the last lap. Winterbottom a 30 even, 1 minute 30.0. Paul Dumbrell's moved up into 3rd place. They started Dumbrell from the pit lane, and they also they brought him in early.
Hasn't he had some drama in that area of the racetrack over the weekend? He's crashed twice there and almost went in frontwards that time.
Now, here's an interesting thing. Dumbrell started from the lane, and they also brought him in on lap 5. So he's also one that's just got off my radar, and he's a bit out of step with others. We need to keep an eye on him.
So Winterbottom does the fastest lap of the race, a 1:29.49. Just 5/100ths of a second faster than Whincup's fastest lap of the race. So there you go. So Whincup from Winterbottom, Dumbrell, Todd Kelly, Lee Holdsworth. That's your top 5.
Mark's been spending a bit of time at home at Doonside with his mum, Mark Winterbottom, that is. James Courtney from Penrith. He's gone out there as well. They love coming home, these guys, and it would mean an enormous amount for Mark Winterbottom to get a race win on these streets around Sydney Olympic Park.
When you have a close look at the way he drives the car, Matt, he's really flowing it very nicely. When you can keep your mid-corner speed up and you come onto those straights with 4 or 5 kilometres an hour, better mid-corner speed, you don't have to accelerate it so hard on the exit. Looks after the tyre, looks very, very good.
Paul Dumbrell there in 3rd position. As Neil mentioned, he's one to watch, although he will have to pit again. Same too for Jason Bargwanna. Jonathan Webb had a big crash in qualifying. Tim Slade's really been mixing it up since the word go, and they're all inside the top 10 right now. But Whincup is our race leader. We go down to 10th to find James Courtney. So still a little bit more to play out in this top 10 for this battle pack that you're looking at. Some of these guys will have to still come in. So if you're keeping a scorecard on Courtney versus Whincup or Whincup versus Courtney, just count a couple of more spots inside the top 10 for James Courtney effectively.
They've all got their mirrors, Matt, those 3 there.
Special awards, special mention.
This has been pretty lively. Bargwanna, Webb and Slade.
Jonathan Webb, the reigning Fujitsu champion. Well, was the Fujitsu champion when he came into the main game, and he's going to set a bit of a record by finishing higher up the championship list than any other graduate from the Fujitsu series to have won the championship. Oh, Dean Fiore.
And can he get it out of there is the question.
So that was Whincup going past, avoiding the trouble. Look at him. Fiore's burning it up and going nowhere. So safety car will be on standby.
That's a turn 9. So just have a look. Dean's in the background there in the Bingley car. Just lock the brakes. He'll lock the brakes. No, he didn't lock the brakes. That's the drama. I thought he's gone in frontwards. Here's Courtney at turn 12, right against the gutter.
Oh, he got out on the drain too.
There's that stop for Dumbrell that we were talking about before.
Yeah, Tom Kelly, Lee Holdsworth, Jonathan Webb. So 4 cars in pit lane. The top 10 now starting to take a more realistic shape, with the field starting to be cleansed. Garth Tander also coming in.
It's a real cat and mouse, this one, because the lap 5 stoppers, the best position is Russell Ingall. The lap 16 stoppers, the best position is Whincup. And those that ran to the end of their fuel load, the best position is Courtney. But every time I finish calculation and talk to our 2 engineers in here about it, safety cars and something else happens, so we go back to the abacus to try and unravel it. But this is going to be a fascinating one. It's a real snakes and ladders, this one. If you're in the wrong spot at the wrong time, you could really burn badly, or you could end up looking like a hero.
I reckon about the only... Just eavesdropped a bit there, but I reckon about the only safe bet as Jamie Whincup comes in.
Yeah, so this is so it's a short stop for them.
Winterbottom's followed him. I was about to say the only fair bet, I reckon, is that however this all cleanses out, it's a pretty surefire bet that we're going to end up with Whincup, Winterbottom and Courtney pretty close to each other. Whether they're at the race lead or a little bit further back, these championship contenders will be dicing with each other at the end of this race.
They need Courtney to keep hustling there at the moment. Yep. So they need him to just keep on hustling.
He's going to arrive. There he is. So there's James Courtney. And there's Whincup. So, and Winterbottom's coming as well. So at the end of all of that, safety cars, timing dramas, the works. Courtney pops out in front. Alex Davison is second. Jamie Whincup is third. His teammates behind him, and the other championship player, Mark Winterbottom, is in fifth.
Try and find his way into the championship. You see Dean Fiore now out of the tyre one left turn number 9, heading out of turn number 10. Coming on for a
Just an update, that incident is cleared itself now. You can lift your speed 80 kilometres an hour, 80 kilometres an hour, expecting withdrawal at the end of this.
Welcome back to the Sydney Telstra 500. This one's had the lot, and it's not done with yet. So let's check in on the highlights so far. Lee Holdsworth started on pole position to the right of your screen. Mark Winterbottom gave him an almighty shake down to turn one, but Holdsworth was resolute, would not budge. But there was contact, and Tony D'Alberto was the loser down there at one. Jamie Whincup was on an enormous charge. He just went crazy in the opening laps and made everything stick. Carl Reindler, however, had a whack there and another whack further down. That triggered the first safety car, which triggered another whack between the stablemates of Will Davison and Fabian Coulthard. This was Courtney just continuing this relentless march. He made it so clear that he just wanted to get out in front of whoever was in front of him. James Courtney had a little bit of contact here with the Fujitsu car as he battled with Tim Slade. And then this one, Warren Luff and Tony D'Alberto. Poor old Warren didn't see that coming. Michael Caruso losing it down at turn one. That sent James Courtney off into the distance with the race lead. And look at this. Whincup versus the championship leader's teammate, Stephen Johnson. Jamie Whincup did not blink. Dean Fiore did not brake. That's where we're at now.
And we're ready for a restart.
So as it stands right now, James Courtney against Jamie Whincup. The difference is 74 points. Provisional, remember? That's how it stands right now. That'll change if Courtney has to come in again. That'll change if the positions start to change on the track.
That'll be redundant in about 2 minutes. It's all going to change. It's going to keep on changing. Yeah, well, James is going to get to about lap 51 on this fuel load. Jamie Whincup, it depends on the impact of the safety car here as we go for the restart. Jamie's going to get to about 57 or 60. Remember that Courtney's got a little track advantage over him at the moment, but he'll lose some of that because the longer he runs out to 51 to the bottom of this fuel load, the greater time he has to stand still to bring the fuel back up to the top, which will put he and Jamie back almost trading punches again, subject to all this stuff.
Oh, Whincup has been the master of the restarts today, and he's done it again. He's rounded up Alex Davison in a flash and gone by him, and now his next target is James Courtney.
Yeah, so can I just say again that it's one stop remaining for the three championship contenders, but they're in different phases with how long they'll have to remain stationary to grab their fuel to get them home. But one stop for Courtney, one stop for Whincup, one stop for Winterbottom. Courtney will stand still for longer. But it's really, really tight, and all these little sums evolve constantly. You know, it's not impossible that we don't get weather yet, by the way.
For another safety car. On the inside, Greg Murphy.
Good pass.
Good job. Great job.
And he was just on the radio in the break talking about poor brake retardation and bad stability in the car, but looked pretty good then, didn't it? He made it work very well.
So Murphy goes up to 8th. Jason Bright's holding down that top 10 position after starting from pit lane.
Very good restart, Jamie Whincup. He was straight away onto Alex Davison. And up into turn 2 was a really good pass. We've seen a couple of his passing manoeuvres there today. Now Craig Lowndes puts some pressure on Davison. Right behind him is Mark Winterbottom, then Russell Ingall, then Jason Bright, and then Greg Murphy, who we saw pass Fabian Coulthard just a couple of minutes ago.
The other fellow that you've got to factor into all this, but he's not in the championship, but he's in the motor race, is Lee Holdsworth. Now, isn't this fantastic? You've got Courtney leading by 1.3 seconds over Whincup. So, despite the complications, despite the ups and downs of them dealing with traffic and a wild race, here they are at the top.
And if Winterbottom wants to put any pressure on these guys, he's going to have to get around Craig Lowndes. So Whincup's got a bit of cover back in the field.
Oh, and I just openly speculated only 2 or 3 minutes ago that it's got darker outside, and I said don't discount weather, and you said don't discount safety cars. Often they're locked together, but that is a rain shower over Parramatta, and water on the lens on the chopper there. So if that happens,
stand back.
I mean, good luck trying to unravel it.
This is pretty lively stuff mid-pack.
So let's have a look at lap speed. This is important. 1:30.0 for James. 1:30.1 for Jamie Whincup. Alex Davison, defensive line down the inside into turn 1 with Lowndes going the long way.
Winterbottom has a look on the inside. I reckon he rubbed there.
Bit of contact
with Lowndes. Bright and Engel are having a juicy battle further back.
And Mark probably didn't need to do that because he would have got up the inside at the next corner because Craig was doing the crisscross. And if Mark followed him, he had a chance to get Alex Davison also. So the little bump that he gave Lowndes has basically positioned them in those two spots.
Race control, bad sportsmanship flag for Alex Davison for blocking in the Irwin Tools entry car 4. They'll show him that at the start-finish line next time round. So Alex is permitted one move to cover, but he's not allowed to make a secondary move to block off any passing opportunity.
Interesting little battle group, this one at the end of the season that we've been looking at. Jason Bright coming down in the trading post entry. That sponsorship is going elsewhere. Russell Ingall's seat is secure. Greg Murphy's on the move. Will Davison's on the move. Games are plenty on the Zinger replay. Two young guns going right at it. This is Van Gisbergen and Slade, and Slade gets the wall.
Well, wide of the race line on the dirty stuff. There's no way he's going to be able to get the thing to do what he needs to do. Now remember, Mark Scapes' remarks earlier in the telecast about the 3 litres a lap, 75-litre tank, effectively, and so you're going to get 25 laps out of it. We've got a 1.5 second margin near enough between Courtney and Whincup.
How was their last lap? 29.86 to a 29.87.
Remarkable pressure between them, isn't it?
It's very intense. 1/100th of a second. Slade in pit lane after that contact with the wall at turn 5. See the nasty marks against the fence down there. Very fast section of road, one of the best corners on the track. There's Lowndes now bottled up behind Alex Davison. Mark Winterbottom right in behind him. This is turn 8.
So they're saying to James right now, it tallies with our calculations. Scott Sinclair saying there's 11 laps in this stint for you now. That gets into lap 51.
So again, just to reiterate that, lap 51 for Courtney to come in. Between 57 and 60, depending on safety cars, etc. for Jamie Whincup. Whincup will be able to effectively stop for less time. So this will be a benefit to Whincup as we get into the middle of this race.
So Courtney's got all the pressure riding on him. His team will have the pressure as well up and down pit lane when those pit stops come into play. Oh, it doesn't look healthy, does it?
Yeah, and we were...
There you go, look at that.
In the break, we saw some wild moments under brakes for Mark Winterbottom. So the weather is an issue, the wipers are on. And this gets even more complex, more of a nail-biter, more at stake.
Look at this.
That's what we saw. We were looking on board in the break, and Winterbottom barely pulled it up down at turn 2, 3, 4 as they stand the wet spy. The Dunlop Groove wet weather tyre. Jason Bright's come into the pit. Courtney, there's the margin, and it's a 1:31.1 for Courtney, so immediately the times have drifted. 1:30.7 for Whincup, 1.69 seconds first to second.
And remember, for the championship, the two lead guys in the series are the two pioneers. They're out by themselves. They're the first cars to arrive in slippery conditions.
Now, the other thing we've been
talking about... Look at this, that's wet.
Yeah, it is. It's bad out there on a slick tyre in those conditions. Look at this. Oh, Courtney nearly clobbers the tyres. Don't forget that Whincup on his strategy can come in earlier. He's got flexibility. Courtney doesn't have flexibility at the moment. He's going to get to about lap 51, and he's got to get to 51 to fill it up to get it home.
It's pouring. It's absolutely pouring out. By mentioning pioneers, these guys are the men most likely to hit the wall first. That's what you're saying. There's no dry line for these guys.
They've all got to get to 51 to get the fuel on to get home.
But you can't live out there like that.
That's what they're fighting at the moment. They're crunching numbers in the garages going, they want them to try and stay out there. This is what I'm getting at. So what they're going to try and ask the drivers to do is get them into the next fuel window. And that's hard.
Well, it's okay on that end of the track. At the track end, Dawn Fraser Avenue, we just saw it. It's only sprinkling in this bit. But down at the other end of the track, at the bottom of Australia Avenue, down to Olympic Boulevard, it is soaked.
And what makes it even harder for the engineers is that if there is genuine wet out there and the pace comes off Scapey, it changes the fuel window. So we're saying you've got to get to 51. They're saying that, you know, to get enough fuel on to get you home to lap 75, you need to come in from 51. But if you end up in a situation with a wet enough track, that might come back to 50 or even 49, and we're on lap 45. So they're going to do everything they can to encourage these guys in particular who've got most at risk. If I was back in the field, I'd come in and play the game.
These guys have to stay out there.
But these guys are going to have to tough it out. Oh, no, Courtney, big understeer. Whincup made massive ground then.
And the only thing that they can take comfort in is that they're both in the same boat. 1 and 2 in the championship. In exactly the same predicament. It's pouring out there.
How wild is that through turn 5? Oh, big understeer then for Whincup, almost straight in the fence. Look at Mark Dutton and Roland Dane. This, you will never see this sort of stuff. This is the slipperiest part.
And 8 was hard enough. Turn 8 was hard enough. Now, the rain clearly at that end of the track is now a genuine problem. And it reaches a point where, forget about the fuel numbers, the car might not be drivable. So the drivers are howling, but they're saying we're keeping an eye on it. We're keeping an eye on it, all right.
Number one priority for James Courtney and Jamie Whincup is to bring the car home at the end of the day. They cannot afford to put it into the wall and end their day without any points.
It's a classic problem here. The drivers just want to be on the most secure tyre. The engineers need the cars to get into the fuel window to fill them up with the fuel that gets them home. So it's a conflict. This end of the track you can deal with.
But Mark Dutton's saying cautious through that area, but the area's got bigger. Because it's now, it's
nearly 3.4 kilometres.
Well, it's basically from the end of this straight right around to Dawn Fraser Avenue on turn 9. So turn 2 to turn 9 is wet. There's Whincup.
Oh, he had a look. He had a look. That could have been diabolical. But I reckon that's probably just a mind game, a little tail flick. Another little tail flick. I reckon Whincup's trying to play mind games here with James Courtney.
This is the dangerous spot. Have a look at this.
He's just going as hard as he can. They're both going as hard as they can.
Look at that. A little touch of the throttle in 4th gear and just bursts into wheel spin.
Now
oh my, I thought that was straight in the fence. That's 2 laps in a row.
There's residual heat in the slick tyres, but with every passing lap, that heat's disappearing. Oh, understeer at 8, understeer, he gets it through. But it's a seesaw battle. And both cars will phase differently. They'll both have trends and capabilities in them that vary a bit with the amount of wet. Here comes Whincup again at turn 9. This is a fight. An absolute arm wrestle for the 2010 V8 Supercar Championship.
Well, this could well and truly decide it.
Who wants it most?
Courtney's doing an amazing job to hold off the pressure. He's the first guy out there, the first guy to arrive at all those slippery spots on the circuit. He leads the race. And check this out, that last lap was 1 minute and 42. The fastest lap was 1 minute 29. That shows you the difference.
How much risk are you prepared to take? And that's the question inside both these helmets at the moment as they approach turn 2. They've both had their moments down here in this complex.
And where do you take the risk? Look at it, all of a sudden here, it's slippery, it looks ugly. They can see it, they can feel it. It's an ice skating rink around there. 1.5 tons of V8 Supercar muscle trying to stay on this track. Now Whincup comes up alongside him and he rounds up the series leader. What a move.
And no one has passed there, ever. No one has made a pass at turn 5. He got up the inside of Courtney.
And Lowndes on the radio, meanwhile, has told his guys that he reckons it's too dry for wets, that it'll hurt the wets on too much of the track. Doesn't look at... Oh, he's hit the wall! Courtney actually hit the wall. That was Scott Sinclair. Courtney hit the wall. Oh, off the road! He's gone! Whincup's gone down the road at turn 9.
We said it before, when you're the first car, you're the pioneer. Before he was able to gauge the conditions from Courtney.
Cool heads need to prevail here. And this guy may well be the biggest winner out of all of it. Not Lowndes, but Mark Winterbottom. He's kept his nose clean. He's in 4th position. And the way things are going, James Courtney and Jamie Whincup are in big danger of not making it to the end of this race. What about that? In the course of 1 lap, Courtney gets rounded up at a spot you've never seen before, right here. Whincup, bang, thank you very much. Not too long after, James Courtney hits the wall. Mark Dutton can't believe what he's seeing. And then not too long after that, Whincup ends up off the road. This is Courtney hitting the wall.
Bang.
Whack. It was a big one. He just got the tyre bundle. Now, down we go again.
Turn 9.
Turn 9, and Whincup goes off the road. Courtney gets the race lead back. Can you just imagine writing that script to happen within about 3 minutes of racing?
And he recovered well. Whincup recovered very well from that, considering what could have been. And there he is in the background. The battle's alive. It's 2.3 seconds between Courtney and Whincup. They're coming up to the moment where the fuel window may open on this slower racetrack to get them in, to get the fuel, to get them home. But there's a fuel load to complete this race. There's a whole race segment to come with dodgy weather, with the championship contenders absolutely locked in combat, and right behind them, the pretenders to the crown, and there's the chief amongst them, Mark Winterbottom. So, Matt's point, if anybody makes a blue up the queue, it'll change the order.
Well, Mark Winterbottom's already done it. He's got past Craig Lowndes. So over that last lap, Winterbottom's made his move on Lowndes. That does a couple of things. It brings Winterbottom back up into the championship picture, and it releases a bit of cover that Jamie Whincup had in between him and Winterbottom. He had his teammate there to protect him. Not now.
Now there's a subplot, because there always is.
There can't be.
Murphy, Ingle and Bright, looking at their numbers at the moment, are very strong in these conditions, and they're coming like a train. There's one of them. There's Greg Murphy. And you can see Russell a couple of spots back. Murphy, Ingle and Bright, great pace in these conditions. And they're all going to continue to try and hang on. But, you know, the next problem they've got is it'll flip around. They'll get in the fuel window, but the question for tyres will remain. Because you'll say, well, what do you... And the call will be backwards and forwards between driver and engineer. What do you want? What do you want? What do you want? Well, flip a coin.
Look at this, painted lines, different surfaces, incredibly slippery conditions. It's just unbelievable.
I reckon I know the answer to what do you want from the driver. Grip, please. Whatever you put on it, just make it grippy. So James Courtney still holding off Jamie Whincup. This championship just continues to deliver the unbelievable. So more drama to unfold, you've got to say, before this race is wrapped up. Alex Davison in pit lane in the championship that has been impossible to predict for the last 24 races. There's Garth Tander. About the only thing that we figured was a sure bet has actually come true. Wish I had money on it. Courtney, Whincup and Winterbottom would end up fighting each other for this title. They're 1, 2 and 3 on the road.
And here's another interesting question to stop and think about, and we've been having a little battle here in the commentary box about it. So if you're an engineer, you're trying to sell the next phase of the race to your driver, you're trying to get it, first of all, your bloke to stay out there on slick tyres on a wet track. The next thing, and that's a hard sell.
Yes.
The next hard sell is, how about I send you some cold, dry weather tyres for the last segment of the race, and you've got to warm them up on a wet track. So as we look at this fantastic slow-mo replay of the front left, absolutely on fire and smoke.
They don't steer when that one's stopped.
They do not steer when that one's not rotating. The fronts are not rotating. The question is, do you leave your warm, dry tyres on?
I do.
Neil says yes,
Yes.
Mark says yes. And as we glare at our engineers in the box here who are trying to sell us cold, slick tyres, we say no. But it'd be interesting to see who wins it out there on the pit lane.
Gee, that's funny, isn't it? Driver versus engineer.
Well, Alex Davison just come in. So did Garth Tander, and they both put tyres on just then. They both put a fresh set of tyres. So there's Dumbrell. Craig Lowndes was just tracking down. This is Rick Kelly, and they're all putting 4 tyres on, so they're obviously confident that it's going to stay dry now.
Well, if it dries right out, it's a great call. But if it doesn't dry out, you're going to spend the first 5 laps frightening yourself. Here we go, the front of the field. This is first and second, turns 6 and 7. More rain, still
raining.
more rain. That's a big clue. That's a big clue on what you do with tyre management. We're coming up to the phase now where Courtney is going to be out of fuel. There's more flexibility in the Vodafone car because of their different strategy. Here comes Whincup once again. He'll have a look down the inside at 9. It brought him undone about 10 or 15 minutes ago. He decides this time, I might just play it cool.
He figures the dry line's a better line than the off-the-road line that caught him out last time. So cool heads.
So very close to the end of the fuel load for James Courtney.
And doesn't that say a lot, that Mark Dutton telling Jamie Whincup that Courtney's going to be coming in? More often than not, they just concentrate on their own plans, their own drivers.
Let's watch what they do with tyres. That's what I want to know. No, they're going to go fresh and cold. First lap or two will be exciting. Good luck. Scapey's holding his breath. So they're waiting for the fuel. There it is, done. And off he goes on cold tyres.
Real careful, all right.
Only those that are driven on cold slick tyres in the wet know.
Neil, just have a look at the outlap of Craig Lowndes versus this one of Courtney, because Lowndes did leave hot front tyres on and only put cold rears on.
Exactly, Larko. That's what we're talking about. And you're dead right, because on this segment of the track, you go straight out, the cold tyres have got no grip, no tyre temperature, and you've got to go up to then the wet section that starts from the next corner. Turn 2 right through to turn 10 is wet.
And another curiosity here is I wonder what the cold starting pressures were for this incoming tyre set. They might have snuck them up a little bit, but if it dries out, they'll overpressure.
So even less time than normal to get temperatures into the tyres.
It's got a quite decent groove there. There is actually a couple of solid wheel tracks there now. And the drivers have got a better view of all of this than we do.
That's the one I don't like.
And it's still raining. Look at it. You can actually see it there. Here we go. Another tricky release here. This is Rick Kelly, Paul Dumbrell, and contact. And that will result in a penalty for Rick Kelly.
So Courtney having to tippy-toe his way around.
He's done well. It's been a very good outlap based on that tyre condition.
4 super slippery cold tyres. Out you go into 3.4 kilometres of a dogfight.
Seriously, Scapey and I just buckled up like pocket knives then. He just barely pulled it up. He just barely pulled it up.
Missed the apex by a full car width and didn't hit the fence. Look, look. Oh, again, that's 2 corners in a row. This is the championship leader on cold tyres, only just staying on the track when there's fences everywhere to hit.
And I'm pretty sure he's been hit by more rain on this first outlap than he did on the in-lap.
Sure. It was a 2-minute 20 for Courtney, which he takes into account the stationary time, and Rick Kelly, as I predicted earlier, copying the unsafe release penalty for Jack Daniels Racing. So 2 minutes 20, keep that figure in your head.
So Whincup leads the race by 6 seconds from Mark Winterbottom.
And Winterbottom's actually quicker than him at the moment to the second sector by quite a margin, nearly a second.
Russell Ingall is in 3rd position. Then Jason Bright, Shane Van Gisbergen. Keep your eyes on James Courtney.
And listen to the tippy toe. Just hear the short shift. You know, just not using all the grunt, the torque, the revs, pulling the gears early. He's fueled to the end. Understeer. That's what all the big weight was. Pull the gear early.
That was so close to understeering straight into that fuso fence at turn 8. Look at this. Is where he couldn't pull up last lap.
And you and I ducked under the desk, but he got away with it.
Wiper doesn't look like it's working very well on his car either. Look how spasmodic it is.
It's a single sweep wiper on a V8 Supercar with a high power.
Look, that's what we just saw. We were on board when that car almost went into the fuso fence.
So they're encouraging James to flash his lights so that traffic can see him. Look at this, it's still wet down there. This is Whincup. He's the race leader.
It's the wheel spin. That's 4th gear, 5th gear. Still wheel spinning.
Novotel off to the right. Here's the big roller coaster into turn 9. And it's very wet down there at turn 8. Using a bit of curve. Oh, look at this. Oh. Which of the 2 Valvoline Fujitsu cars is it? Well, the number will reveal, and it's Holdsworth. So hard to pull these cars up in these conditions. Oh, dear. And there's very little lock available. Steering lock, that is.
I want to know how he ended up.
Yeah, he guy rated it off the back of turn 7. So what's this? Sideways,
right, so
turned around. Yep.
I thought he was reversing to get out of an off-road.
Here we go. Here we go. This is the critical stop. What do they do for tyres? They're slicks. Did they say rears only? Rear only for Jamie Whincup. It's different. Time, fuel stop. Different strategy. They're just going to get enough fuel in it to get it home. Keeping the warm fronts on, cold rears. That's a better bet for me.
Courtney is coming up to the final turn.
He's going to be ahead of him because he only had to do, well, he had to stand still for less time because of the fuel, and he only had to do 2, not 4 tyres. He's in front of him.
So still waiting for Courtney. Here he comes with the lights on. So that's the relative gain for Jamie Whincup to get out there in front. But remember, Whincup now has 2 cold tyres on the rear of car number 1. It won't be as disastrous or tippy-toe-ish as a lap that James Courtney had to do first time out. He's got a bit of traffic in front of him. Jamie Whincup in the form of Jonathan Webb. And there's the rain coming down.
And it's not impossible that it gets wet enough that they don't have to come back again for wets. Ingle in. And this is the stuff I'm talking about. If it gets really bad, this will be a safety car.
This is turn 8.
Ingle was on a charge too. He was on track to be close to a podium. Look at him trying to find reverse. Race control ready to activate the safety car if he can't get out of there, and he won't get out of there.
They'll give him a bit of time in case he can grab reverse, but he was having a bit of trouble then.
It's heavily wedged. It's wedged right in under those tyres.
Yeah, and he's got no grip anyway.
There's a curb and a gutter. So this is on board now with Ingle,
who was having a great run.
Got wide, never looked like turning, and straight in. Oh. There's a gutter under that. So it hasn't actually done probably too much structural damage to the front of the car when he climbed up there. That's Winterbottom.
In and out, gone, serviced.
Todd Kelly the same.
The point I was going to make about just as Russell had his moment at turn 8 is that if it gets really wet, they'll all have to come back for wets.
Exactly.
Now, the other thing here is that don't discount that Winterbottom will end up in front of Courtney and all this. I reckon he is, because he's gone, hasn't he? We saw him departing, and that was James, I think, coming onto the straight. So he's actually, and you know, that's bad news for James in points land if Jamie holds the lead of this motor race.
Well, that's a really unfortunate ending to this race for Russell Ingle. Started inside the top 10. He was really on a charge. I mean, we have been focusing for good reason on the championship fight, but guys like him and Greg Murphy have been up there and they were pushing along well. It's been 5 years since the Enforcers had a race win.
So the Petters safety car on standby, and looking out the window here, away she goes. Looking out the window, I reckon it's going to get wetter. Stephen Johnson thinks it's going to as well, because he's put a full set of Dunlop wets on his car. What a race, folks. Jason Bright is the leader. We're under the control of the safety car. Shane Van Gisbergen is second, with Jamie Whincup in third.
So the Petter's safety car again continues. It's been busy today. Amber Anderson behind the wheel there. She's been in control of the safety car throughout this year. Does a terrific job and has been called on quite a bit in 2010. Jamie Whincup from Mark Winterborg.
That was
James
Courtney almost into the fence.
Under the control of the safety car. Now, if it gets wetter, Stephen Johnson will be a threat here. He's on wets. Look at this. Look how slippery it is. Oh, Greg. And whack.
And now, that's how Lee Holdsworth spun.
And Greg subsequently came to the pits. Oh, hello. It's a party.
Tim.
There's heaps of people joining that spot.
And as Greg Murphy brought his wounded car back into pit lane,
look how wet it is.
It was puffing smoke and putting oil on the track as well. So the championship points scored now reads 32 points is the difference between Courtney and Whincup. Winterbottom 194 points back.
But the worst thing that can happen now, Matt, is when you go slow on your slick tyre, you've got no temperature. So in a normal racing circumstance, we saw half the track dry, you keep the temperature up and the grip's okay. But behind the safety car, they've got no grip.
And of course, then when you go fast, you've got no grip.
No grip.
Well, yeah, they cool out, and as a result of that, they lose surface temperature. They also lose pressure. He's saying he wants wets if it's going to keep raining.
There's the $64 million question.
And now they've got a serious nail biter in their hands because they do not want to give away track position.
Oh, look at that. Look at that.
So Mark Dutton's been forced to play weather forecaster.
You know what
the best he could do was not sure. Restart, off we go.
You know what I'd do? If I were them, I'd do it because Courtney will mirror them and then it'll be a wet weather race between both of them because I don't reckon James would tough it out. It's too wet.
So our three championship contenders, Whincup, Winterbottom and Courtney, make up the top three of this race. It is belting down. They're not on wet tyres.
The question that I would ask in either of the bunkers at Vodafone, Change for the Lead or Dim Beam is, can we afford a crash? And the answer to that is no.
Yeah.
So look at this. If they end up in the wall, it's game over. It's going to be game over for one of these contenders if they're not careful. They've got to get on wet tyres now.
Look at this. That is so slippery, you will not believe it.
If you're down the autoscape here, you play the risk game, but I wouldn't play the risk game.
Oh,
Look, James Courtney's about to play.
oh no! He's in the fence! They're both in the fence!
They're all in the fence.
Oh!
Unbelievable. Top three in the fence. Van Gisbergen goes as well. Suddenly, Whincup has managed to keep going. Courtney's desperately trying to go with him, and they're bashed.
That's stupid. I said it 15 seconds ago. They pushed that you cannot afford to have a crash in these conditions. They should have been on wets.
He's got nothing on the right front.
It's broken.
Going nowhere.
They're all broken. Forget about it.
This is just incredible. How?
This could end up being a red flag, which means that if it's red flags, it could backdate. I need to see where we're at in percentage terms.
But
it's got broken front suspension.
guys, this is when you've got to go with the driver. You've got to go with the driver's feel. When he said on the safety car at the restart, it's time for wets.
We have passed the critical 75%. It can be declared a race. We've got massively wounded cars, and if it is declared, it'll backdate
to the lap prior.
Yeah, and don't ask me what it looked like at that point because it's too much data to process.
He's going to battle to get it into pit lane. He can't steer it. No, he's got it there now.
Oh, now, I totally echo your remarks. The driver, he was saying, I need wets. They're playing way too much of a theoretical laptop game and not enough racetrack game. Look at that.
That's what. So that's what happened to Craig Lowndes' car as he went slamming into the rear of James Courtney's car. Okay.
Oh, it's got a broken disc. It's got a broken rotor. He's going to be there forever.
Yeah, you can see there, because not only smashed this, but the upright is broken clean in half. That's going nowhere.
So that's one championship contender gone for the day.
Now, what's it look like at the other end of town? Because it doesn't look much prettier on this. It's gone too. He's going nowhere. Adrian Burgess, sporting director. This thing is broken. These two guys are going to get a big fat zero.
James Courtney, to make matters worse, he's turned into the wrong garage. They're going to have to push him around and get him in the right garage. This is a mess. It is belting down in pit lane at the moment. It couldn't get any worse.
Guys, where is Winterbottom? Because if these blokes score zeros, Winterbottom you're going to have to focus on here, because he could grab points. He's down in 13th. What's the state of his car?
Have a look at the damage on Lowndes' car after running into the back of James Courtney at turn 5.
Well, if they thought Jamie Whincup's car was bad, wait until they see what's happened to Lowndes'. Alex Davison stuck. Todd Kelly was stuck there.
It's like a wrecking yard.
Mark Winterbottom is the big question. Where is he? What damage has he got? He was the first one to go. The Watts linkage has gone on that as well. The rear is wobbling all over the shop.
Not much that isn't gone on it. So Winterbottom, here he is. Now, okay, so he's got a big fat zero too. So all three contenders are going to end up with nothing out of this.
This is a joke.
Kidding.
Yeah, so I needed to see him to understand what could, because this could have been the Formula One scenario where the bloke in third in the championship leaps up and scares everybody at the top end of town. That's not going to happen.
Well, when they pull this off, you watch.
Now,
if they get it off,
I'm going to be interested in whether this gets declared, and if it does, when the declaration happens, if it happens, it could have impact on the result and the championship because of who was leading second, third and so on at the time. But the longer it trickles on...
Well, I'm pretty sure that Jamie Whincup was leading the race. When we go back...
It may not get declared. Depends on how many cars are scattered
So this is what happens. So Whincup follows these guys in. Winterbottom's the first to go. Courtney goes in. Whincup's gone in.
There they are, championship contenders.
Then they crunch again. Van Gisbergen gets into the mix. Now you keep an eye on Craig Lowndes, who gets speared over to the left-hand side. There's still cars hitting the fence left, right and centre. And then there's Michael Caruso. Todd Kelly will arrive on the picture sooner or later because he couldn't go anywhere. And then watch this. Oh, that's from Jamie Whincup. There's Courtney. This is a championship moment evaporating in the middle of a rainstorm.
But it's the status quo. So it's a reset for tomorrow. So forget about the championship contenders. They've actually all neutralised each other. Each of the teams and their strategists have neutralised each other.
Check this out. Watch James Courtney's car and Craig Lowndes. Crunch.
That sound you can hear is the sound of cash registers ringing. Because that's an expensive act, all that. So I'd forgotten about Winterbottom because I was that focused on these two guys that it was hard to read what was going on. But
the first bloke to crash was Winterbottom.
Yes.
He was the guy that went into the fence first.
And I reckon if we could have a chat to Mark Winterbottom, he would say exactly the same thing. Those three guys were in exactly the same position at the same time and the same outcome. Aquaplaning into the fence, major damage, almost replica damage across the three cars. The interesting thing there, and you guys were talking about this, was remember on that restart lap when Jamie Whincup asked Mark Dutton the question, he didn't say, I want to come in. He asked him the question, is it going to keep raining? Well, it's a pretty open-ended question.
Well, but he made a clear statement, we need to be on wets. And we were saying it up here. But the problem that they were all waiting for one of the others to blink. Everybody was waiting and looking at the other guy because they didn't want to give away track position. Meantime, the guys couldn't steer the cars. You know, eventually on a slick tyre, a cold slick tyre, like
look at
these
this
conditions, there's
look
nothing
at this.
That's novel stuff.
Smash up Dhabi.
May as well come down that way.
He's going to end up in another
He's going
car.
to run into the other car.
Gee.
May as well not.
What's all that about?
It's not as though he could do any more damage.
Well, he'd already wiped the right-hand rear mirror off, so he couldn't see where that one was, Croppo. That was a car park mistake.
Those mirrors are useless. So they're trying to check out what damage is unfolding in car 5. Mark Winterbottom, it's Matty White here. If you've got me and you know anything that we don't, what can you inform us about the damage to your car? It was a bizarre situation, Mark, to see the top 3 championship contenders all go into the wall at exactly the same spot, aquaplaning. So you've all got a similar story of woe. Pretty heavy impact. We're just looking at the replay right now. Not only when you hit the wall, you must have known what was coming behind you too. Well, good on you, Mark. Let's see if you can get back out there.
Thanks, Frosty.
It's pretty safe in the commentary box, Frosty. So, look, the focus here is really on the work being done to all 3 cars and whether they can get them out and get them classified and steal a couple of points. Meantime, Jonathan Webb is the race leader from Jason Bright and Stephen Johnson. And the motor race continues. So all that stuff I was on about before with declaration, they're under the control of the safety car and it's just rolling on. So even if they did declare it now, it would be declared around these new scenarios, not the one that we were talking about earlier.
Right, Jonathan
Steve
Webb
Johnson
would be the winner.
But Steve Johnson is on wets.
Yeah. Now, the interesting thing is that as they sit in there, and as Roland pointed out, that there's a battle on for who can fix a destroyed car fastest. You actually look at them on the timing and the computer at the moment, even though they're in the pit lane, they're both showing Whincup position 14, Courtney position 15. So as it's been in recent months, they still remain locked together.
Yeah.
And they want to get them back out there so they can get them classified and try and grab some points, any points. And a lot of damage on. They've all got similar levels of damage. It's all in the same area.
Well, they all hit the same fence at the same speed.
So just to reiterate, it's the mother car of Jonathan Webb, having a great rookie season in the main game, who's leading the field. And then Jason Bright, who's had great pace all weekend, except for that little flaw in qualifying where he plucked an oil line off. And then Stephen Johnson. And what we're trying to determine now is who is on a wet tyre versus who's on a dry tyre.
There's an incredible battle of mechanical skill going on here between FPR and Jim Beam Racing at the moment. The Jim Beam guys are throwing everyone at Courtney's car at the moment. There's not a spare pair of hands in the garage. They are under the car, they're on top of the car, and meantime James Courtney has his leg just poking out, just doing all he can at the moment, and that's relaxing and getting ready to go again. But they are working feverishly to try and get this car back out. And you take a peek across to FPR, it's a similar scene there. They've still got Mark Winterbottom's car in pit lane at the moment, and they are working feverishly as well. But this is full pressure on. Adrian Burgess, who's the team principal, is hands on deck as well. They're just bashing the bonnet at the moment, just trying to get this thing back into shape so they can shut it up and get back on the racetrack. And even Adrian, the team boss, is there holding onto the bonnet as they pound it. It is all happening down here at Jim Beam Racing, guys.
Extraordinary pictures.
Well, it's such a team game. You've just had mistakes made on the track, and now it's a team race to get the cars back to going again. They've all got to put right-hand front corners in these cars. It's a team race to get them back out and to get some points, to salvage a couple of points.
Another victim departs the scene, Will Davison.
Yeah, and as all the debris is cleaned up, eventually the race director will release the race once again, and we'll go racing with Jonathan Webb leading the field.
Could Jonathan Webb claim his first ever race victory? What about Stevie Johnson? There's a chance that he's on wet tyres. He will come charging. Well, Jonathan Webb has the job of guiding this field home, because the Pettis safety car has now pulled away, and the former Fujitsu champion in his first ever season in the main game full-time now has the race lead. Can you believe it? Our three championship contenders are all in pit lane, all battered and bruised. Jason Bargwanna is going fighting down to turn one. This has fallen in the lap of these guys, courtesy of a major incident involving our championship contenders, Whincup, Courtney and Winterbottom.
And don't discount the possibility that there could be another safety car intervention in what's obviously really tough conditions. And I'm not 100% sure of who's on what tyre at the moment either. And looking at these cars, they must be on wets.
There's a couple that don't look like they are.
These blokes do.
Yeah.
Well, either way,
this is the spot.
Either way, gents, they're not going to make the 74-lap race distance. There's probably about 4 laps to go. Jason Bright there in third. There's Stephen Johnson. Paul Dumbrell. I mean, just 5 or 10 minutes ago, these guys were battling mid-pack. Now they're going for a race win.
Jason Bargwanna has always been big slide coming out of turn 8 for Jason Bargwanna. He's always been good in the wet.
Yes.
Yeah, but
on our computer, he's showing 1 lap down at the moment in position 9, Jason Bargwanna. So he's potentially trying to unlap himself.
Yeah, that's right.
That's why he's going so hard, so fast, so early in this restart. So the guys on the lead lap, Webb, Bright, Johnson, Rick Kelly, Coulthard, Lee Holdsworth, who started from pole, and Andrew Thompson.
But Webb's actually got a substantial lead over Bright.
Yeah.
He's second. He's got 3 seconds on him at the moment. That's the motor race. Meantime, back at the Jim Beam garage. And Scapey, earlier we were talking, it looked like these fellows at Ford Performance Racing didn't have their car in the garage, which limits the number of people that can work on it. But at DJR, as in Jim Beam Racing and at Team Vodafone, they did have them in the garage.
That's right. So there's a regulation of how many guys can work on the car in the lane. FPR have chosen to leave the car in the pit lane, while the other two teams could basically have as many guys as they like. As Mark Marina reported with Jim Beam Racing, they had everyone in the place working on James Courtney's car. So different strategies again in pit lane.
And if one of those cars get out in the course of the next couple of laps, if Whincup, Winterbottom or Courtney get out, they'll finish 15th, they'll get 60 points.
Yeah, that's right. So it's absolutely worth the fight. I mean, you wouldn't worry about how ugly it is.
Just get it out there.
Just get it out. It doesn't matter about the geometry, so long as all four wheels are on it and it basically resembles a motor car, you'd send it.
But the problem is, when you put a right-hand front corner in them, you've got to make sure they stop. You've got to make sure they've got at least got brakes. You saw all the brake damage on the three cars at the front. So you've certainly, when you go back out on the road, you've got to be safe about it.
I think there's also a time requirement you've got to achieve. You can't, there's a rule somewhere that it'll take me too long to find that you can't, look at the front of that thing.
It's just about ready to push out.
Well, they're getting closer and closer, aren't they?
You can't do a lap time, Scapey, that is effectively a turtle time. You've actually got to go out and do something that's we might get onto that and see if we can get the answer for you.
Body language tells us that Winterbottom will not be going anywhere. If anything, the race to get back out there is being won by Dick Johnson Racing at the moment. But they're running out of time because this race will finish in a matter of laps.
As is Jamie Whincup, Matty. There's 5 guys under the car, including Mark Dutton with blood all over his fingers. These guys are giving it their all. The upright's just gone on. They're about 2 bolts away, mate.
Brad Jones has just sent me a text. The reason why Bright's struggling is they've decided to start that car with way too lower tyre pressures. They're just not coming up. So that's the reason why Webb's all over him at the moment, leading. Here we are, in and out of both the key garages.
There's a cut-off time for this race, and it ends in 2 minutes.
Guys, update from Jim Beam. They're just about to get the right front tyre on James Courtney's car. The last thing they've got to check is when they drop it down that there's enough clearance between the track and the fuel tank at the back. That's the big issue at the moment.
Wouldn't be worrying about anything like that, Brett. You'd just be getting 4 wheels on the thing and pushing it down pit lane, getting it out there. What about this? 26 years of age, Jonathan Webb. He won the Fujitsu Series. He comes in here into the main game. Oh, they can't get it started.
No, it's running, but they're just having another look at it to make sure it's running okay. And V8 Supercar officials are there just watching. So your point, Matt, Jonathan Webb staring down the gun barrel here of the potential first ever championship win. Courtney back out. He's going to get out on this racetrack. The thing is a mess at the front. He's just got to be able to get around.
And Adrian Burgess just said, be careful, James, be careful.
So this has got... It's got nothing to do. And that's what he's saying. It's got nothing to do with winning the race, but they've won the most important race. The race to get Courtney back on the track. And Courtney's won that race against Winterbottom and Whincup.
But I hasten to add that Courtney's got to be super careful because he can end up back in the wall again with stone cold tyres and geometry all over the place.
Well, he'll just be going trundling around. And Jonathan Webb, well, he's got a different scenario altogether. Remember, we go back to Sandown when Paul Dumbrell won his first race after 242 cracks at it. Well, Jonathan Webb is in just his 33rd main game race. And if he can hold it together and keep it straight, he's going to find himself on the race winners list.
Now, in James Courtney's broken car case, if his lap time is more than twice the fastest lap of the winner's fastest lap time, then he's not classified. Did I say that right? So if Courtney's time is more than twice as slow, I should say, as this bloke's fastest lap, which will be based on his dry time, then he's not classified.
Bottom line is, James just can't go out and trundle around at 4 k's an hour. He's got to push along. But let's focus on Jonathan Webb.
So that means that James has got to do a 3-minute lap. Look at the front of it. It's got negative camber on one side, positive on the other. It's covered in race tape. It's destroyed. Bright is coming, but will it be fast enough? Bright is closing now that he's got some temperature up.
Webb started in 21st. Remember, this car is out of the Dick Johnson Racing stable.
He had a moment.
So they've had it all thrown at them, DJR, this weekend, but Bright is certainly coming. Youth versus experience in the rain, on the streets, as a championship battle has unfolded around them in the most extraordinary fashion. Jonathan Webb has less than 3 kilometres now to deliver a race win.
He's on.
He'll take.
Think of Jason Brights has got some pace now that it's gripped up, and he's on it, a big attack. There's 3/4 of a lap remaining, and I'll tell you what, he might get here. The last 3 or 4 corners are going to be game on here. Meantime, at the other end of the racetrack, Courtney's trying to get a lap time out of that broken car in order to be classified and get a vital pile of points, which for 15th is 60 points.
And there goes Whincup, just exiting the pit lane. No wheel alignment, wheel on, gone. Horrible.
So they've just got him out there. So Courtney and Whincup have gone out there.
And 16th, if Whincup is classified, is worth 57 points.
Look at this. Look at Bright. He's coming at him.
Jason Bright has won 15 races in his career. The last was 4 years ago. Jonathan Webb's career is really only just starting. He's never won a V8 Supercar race. It's been a battle of attrition. They've had to fight off the rain. Webb's car was crunched in qualifying. And here he is, this 26-year-old with a cool head. The emotion will be bubbling over as he brings it around the final couple of turns. The rain is falling down at the Sydney Telstra 500, and that is a victory that's fallen from the heavens for Jonathan Webb.
Fantastic job.
Good on him. Good on him.
Great drive. Well done.
And that makes Webb the 60th driver to win a race in the history of Australian Touring Car Championship and V8 Supercar racing.
And now here's Courtney. He's done 2/3 of this lap. To the second intermediate, he's recorded a 1 minute 28.3. It will be under 3 minutes. Look at this.
Look who's there. His partner in crime.
Walking wounded. These two.
That wheel is almost off that car.
They're just locked together, aren't they?
He'll be lucky to complete this lap. Look at the front right wheel. It's barely holding on. Oh, this is just amazing. You're going to have to burn up the calculators to find out what's happening in the championship. But I'll tell you what's happening. It's going to Sunday.
Courtney did a 2:03, but Whincup hasn't recorded a lap. I'm not sure that Whincup will get classified. We'll check that for you. He hasn't done a lap. He hasn't done a flying lap. So even though Matty is showing 16th, I'm not sure that he'll be classified. But Courtney has done a lap. It's a 2 minute and 3. And congratulations to these two guys, to Jonathan Webb and to Jason Bright, because they are left standing where others couldn't get the job done. James Courtney, Neil Crompton, unbelievable day, mate. You've been classified as 15th, which is worth 60 points to you. Your thoughts? Obviously, James, it was incredibly treacherous there. You know, were you flinching and considering getting onto wets early, or do you think you still made the right call, you guys? Yeah. Well done, mate. At least you've been classified according to our numbers, and we'll look forward to tomorrow.
So I've been crunching some numbers.
Yes.
If James Courtney, he finishes with 60 points out of today, and if Jamie Whincup is not classified, James will have a 113-point lead going into the final race. Jamie Whincup, you got me? Oh, I'm feeling pretty good. How are you travelling?
56 points or so between them. Courtney still holding his lane under Jamie Whincup. A wet weather race.
Yeah, Jamie, we were saying the same thing. Neil and I it's one of those ones where you've got to go with your intuition sometimes, don't you? And I heard you say on the radio to Mark Dutton, we really should be in. So it's one of those ones, I mean, all three of you had no grip there at turn 5. It was an incredible incident, wasn't it? Mate, well done. Great drive. It was a really good drive in the dry. It was fantastic.
Well, it's game on for tomorrow. We need to check with the officials to see who was classified and who wasn't. But Jonathan Webb, at the end of all of this, has scored a victory in car 19 in the Falcon out of Dick Johnson Racing. Bright and Rick Kelly make up the podium. And midfield is where we find all the action. So it's that simple, folks. We just need to find out if Jamie Whincup has been classified. If he has, he's a lot closer to James Courtney than he thinks. But this is the man of the moment. Young Jonathan Webb. He's made his mark here in the rain at the Sydney Telstra 500.
That's all right, mate.
You'll get the trophy.
Hello? Oh, yeah. I'll follow my other. Thanks, mate. Didn't expect that one, but we'll take it. Danny? That's all right. Thanks, dude. Thanks, boys. Dunlop? That was all right. Didn't expect that one.
Give us a picture, guys. Get in there. Come on, guys. Here we go. That's it.
I think we were there with about 20 to go. Well done, dude. Sorry about that. I've only been working a bit. Yeah, exactly. I was comfortable.
The Sydney Telstra 500, our race, 25 for the year, delivered far more than we ever imagined. Time to make the presentations on the podium now to our winners, and to make the presentation, the Executive Director of Telstra Countrywide, who've been a tremendous sponsor of this event. Would you please welcome Brett Riley?
Yeah, thanks, Mark. Good afternoon, everyone. And a special hello to all of the fans that are at home watching on their Big Pond TV, watching the excitement of today's race. Well, Telstra is very proud to bring the technology that not only supports the drivers and their teams, but also brings the excitement of the V8 Supercar Championship Series to thousands of Australians right across the country, all online watching it and on TV. So today, congratulations to the drivers in pretty tough conditions, and congratulations to the fans too, because it's really the fans that make the Sydney Telstra 500 such a fantastic event. Congratulations to Jonathan and the team. I think we'll now, Mark, hand over for the presentations.
Brett, thank you very much, and thanks to Telstra for their great support as well. Third place today for Jack Daniels Racing, Rick Kelly. Rick, well done, congratulations. Great to see you back on the podium, and you just never know what race day is going to throw up.
I tell you what, look, big thanks to JD and all our sponsors for persisting with us this year. It's been quite tough, and I don't know how the heck I got here, so I'm going to run off with a trophy before someone stops me. Thanks.
Well done, Rick. Go for your life. Our runner-up today in second place in the Trading Post Commodore, Jason Bright. Brighty, before the start of this race, I stood down on the pit wall with Brad Jones, and he said to me, here's the strategy. We just don't know if it's going to work, but we're going to have a crack, and boy, did it work.
Mate, after this morning, it was always going to be a bit of a tough day, but we had a really good thing about strategy, and I was pretty confident going to the race that we'd be standing on one of these steps because we had a quick car all weekend. The guys have done a great job. It's been a tough couple of weeks with JR not being here. He's been working hard with us all year to make this car as good as it is. So this one's for JR as well.
Well done, Jason Bright. Congratulations. Well done to our winning team today, the Mother Falcon from Dick Johnson Racing, and to accept the team's trophy, Nick Torelli. Make the most of it, Nick. And our winner today, boy, what can we say? 26 years of age, his first V8 Supercar win. Would you please congratulate Jonathan Webb? Jono, congratulations, a real landmark today. I think we all knew it was going to happen sometime, maybe not as soon as this.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, rookie year, the boys have done a great job all year, and the team, and we didn't have the best luck in quali, and I stuck the thing in the fence and came back on 3 wheels. So amazing job from all the boys to turn the car around, and just thank you everyone for all your help.
Jono, would you like to climb up the top and enjoy the moment? Would you please congratulate Rick Kelly, Jason Bright and Jonathan Webb?
Everyone together, just for the guys down here. Yeah, you know, just stay in there, get in there. Just over there for those guys down there. Just out for those guys. Hold them up. Get in close, guys.
Gonna need a gap filler. Gonna need a puddle sucker too.
Might also need a Jenny.
And another Sanger.
Whatever you need, Coates Hire has a million pieces of equipment. Call 13 15 52.